Woo! Meal prep time!
Hello, IDS here, ranking everyone's favourite sets, the Bionicle Stars. What an interesting group of 6 sets these were. The writing was on the wall regarding Bionicle earlier than 2010, and probably early 2009, where Bionicle's sort of sales were stagnating. I don't think they ever went into the shitter, but they were stagnating. I think there were a lot of factors that went into that, but one that people don't necessarily think about in retrospect, because most of the people who give a shit about this were kids at the time and probably weren't affected as much, is the 2008 financial crash. Of course, families across the world were hurting. There was not as much money to spend freely on plastic toys. You know, leisure takes a back seat when people are hurting financially. And not only that, but Bionicle at the time was in pure part reusage. Post 2006, when you pick up a set, you're basically getting the same thing. Akar is 90% of the same build as Harley and Ica. You're getting a Baraka, you're getting Kalma, you're basically buying a Paraka again. You know, while the sets were no longer clones within a wave, they were clones between waves. Right? You weren't getting a significantly new product 3 years later. And I think that probably added to some level of fatigue. People often quote as well that, you know, the story was getting too complex, which I guess is also true. I mean, at the end of the day, you're in a rich, canon-filled universe several years down the line at this point. But I'd argue things like Star Wars, which is omnipresent, always popular, always, you know, big with kids, has also extensive lore, and that's never alienating. It also has weird names that's not also alienating, supposedly, with Bionicle, which is why with G2 they made the dunderheaded, you know, reasoning of, let's not give them names, which is also idiotic. How do you connect with a character when it doesn't have a name? Right? So there was a multitude of different things that played in. And also now that we've seen the leaks regarding Bionicle materials around this time, we also realized that Bionicle was not playtesting compared to contemporary toys as well. Ben 10 was killing it. Bionicle was not really gravitating towards kids as much as it was. I've always said this. I feel like part of what kind of hurt Bionicle long term, and I don't think the early 2000s pitches for this would have been a great idea, but Bionicle not having a TV show hurts it in the long term. Most nostalgic properties that still thrive today largely remain in people's consciousness because of TV. People are nostalgic for He-Man. People are nostalgic for Transformers. People are nostalgic for the Ninja Turtles, Ben 10. All of these IPs stay relevant thanks to TV, through syndication, through the fact that having a visual medium, the audio, everything like that kind of sticks in people's brains and leaves more of an impact. Like, Bionicle was the biggest thing in the world at a point. In 2002, where I was living in New Zealand at the time, I think the stat was 1 in 2 boys owned a Borok. There was a point where the Bionicle comics were the most popular DC comic, technically. However, that stuff fades, and toys get left in the closet and don't get touched, and, you know, but TV sticks in your brain. And movies as well, I guess. And unfortunately, the Bionicle movies, as much as I love the Miramax movies, are very, very niche. They are great products, and from an artistic integrity standpoint, it's kind of interesting that that Lego would greenlight something that's so... A, doesn't really advertise the products very well, because the Miramax designs are not really truly based on the sets that much, but also not very good for beginners. It's not like you watch that and you get what's going on. You kind of have to get what's going on, and then you watch the movies. I'd argue the film that gives you the most self-contained story is Web of Shadows, despite the fact that it kind of takes place in between Legends of Metro Nui and itself, I guess. In that window before they become Turaga is when it takes place. But yeah, they're not very good promotional items, which is interesting. Again, it's like, I can understand and almost respect it from a artistic standpoint that they didn't go with a fully shilly, kiddie product like that, but it does kind of hurt the legacy, in a sense, because, again, no one's gonna go back and watch that and be like, oh yeah, now I get what's going on. I forgot all of this stuff. And the Legend Reborn I don't think is very good either. The Legend Reborn is the one Bionicle movie I don't like. Of course, I detest the G2 TV nonsense. That was even worse. But Legend Reborn really feels like what I would expect a 2000s kids movie based on Bionicle to be. It's really kiddie and jokey and whatever. It's just, I don't like it. I already dislike kind of 2009 in concept anyway, and it's playing in that, so there's nothing from that perspective like, oh wow, the characters I love are on screen. I don't care about Berix and Kina screaming around on screen or all that. Like, I don't care. Like, 2009 has cool sets, I could give a fuck about the story, quite frankly. So the Legend Reborn, again, it shows what... It shows that Miramax had the source. Miramax had the source, and those 3 movies rocked. Thank you, Harvey Weinstein, for those movies. Kidding aside. But yeah. All that to say, you know, I think if Bionicle had gotten itself a TV show in the 2000s, I think it would have had a better chance going head-to-head with its contemporaries, such as Ben 10. But, you know, having an animated TV show back then was, you're kind of flipping a coin. It was the heyday of action shows, to be fair. So if a Bionicle TV show was ever going to be successful and be great, the 2000s was the year to do it. Because unfortunately, with the 2000s going into the 2010s, action cartoons kind of got overswept with what I might be. This is a controversial non-Bionicle opinion. Adventure Time came out and made kids' TV shows less about action and being gross and stuff like that, and made kids' TV about my feelings and, oh, everything is so nice, and massive tangent. But essentially, I hate Adventure Time and what it did to animation. I know a lot of people love Adventure Time, so, you know, if my opinions on on Bionicle piss you off, I'm sure my opinions on Adventure Time will piss you off too. But there was a shift going into the 2010s, and the action cartoon sort of died. Where was I going with all of that? All that to say, the Stars was just Lego going, oh crap, Bionicle is stagnating, we don't want this. Yeah. We need to inject some new life into this thing. From conversations with Faber and information that is out there in the ether now, the Bionicle story team originally wanted Bionicle to kind of bow out gracefully and take a break after 2008. Like, it would just end in 2008, whether or not they did the twist where Makuta won, or, you know, Mana Nui's just awoken. They were going to just leave it there. And then Lego would, I guess, shelve it and potentially bring it back later. But according to Faber, I guess push from the American market more so. I guess, you know, it's the biggest toy market. They were like, no, we're not gonna let Bionicle die. Let's wring some other shit out. So then sort of this soft reboot aspect comes in, which is probably why 2009 concept-wise is so half-baked. Again, I've gotten into arguments with people who are incorrect as well, by the way. There was someone in the Glatorian or the Agori ranking video saying that, who told you that Glatorian and Agori are different species? It's like, read the lore, dude. Ranting. The Stars. The Stars themselves are Lego's, okay, 2009 didn't do what it needed to do. This thing is just kind of on its way out. It's too stagnant. We need new life. Hero Factory's on the way. Let's give Bionicle a quick final hurrah. With whatever limited budget they had. Of course, if you think of Bionicle's budget as a wave of canister sets, a wave of matoran sets, and optionally a Titan, the budget for Bionicle's 2010 canister wave ironically goes to Ben 10, because the Ben 10 set sort of filled that canister set size niche, which is hilarious because Ben 10 was kind of one of those toys that was just kicking Bionicle's ass in playtesting. And then, of course, the final Bionicle sets get relegated to matoran sets, which is a shame. However, I will give them credit. Doing a Stars line as the final line, it's an inspired idea. I kind of like it. And it's kind of cool getting the, you know, larger characters interpreted in a small scale. I don't hate the idea. Someone should have told the comic artist that they aren't actually that small. Because if you read the 2010 comics, like, everyone's tiny. And the Rakshi are tiny, and they're fighting full-size Glatorian, and it's just not canonically correct. But either way, doing a final send-off line, kind of trying to show Bionicle's highlights, was not an idea I hated. Like, it's kind of nice, and I'm kind of glad LEGO tried to go out on a little bit of a kind of a glory days throwback. Execution-wise, it's mixed. In my opinion, I think what they did for the selection of characters for this wave, I disagree with. And also the ramifications for Bionicle as a whole, in terms of what we know, I don't like either. I don't like the fact that Tahu gets devolved into a Mata, while the rest of his team remain as Nuva. Don't like that one bit. Look at that lineup now. They're all in their Nuva forms, and he's a flat-footed Mata. Kind of sucks. I don't like the fact that they pull Tahu, again, away from his team, no longer is uniform with his team, but then he solely gets to win the day. It kind of flies in the face of unity. Almost every Bionicle conflict has been resolved by the Toa coming together, working together, forming a Toa seal, things along those lines. Pulling Tahu out as the savior, don't like it. Runs antithetical to what Bionicle is about. I get it for the final lineup poster. You want to have Tahu, Mata in front of that lineup. You got to do it, but just devolve all of them. And if you have to do that, in my opinion, make all of the stars the Mata. Devolve all of them, making them the Mata. Most of these guys have a new mold anyway, so I think most people would be happy with these being very close to Agori Matoran rehashes, as long as we've got new Kanohi. Like, Nektan gives us a new mold. Skrull does not give us a new mold. I'm not counting his foot because that's uniform across the line. Skrull doesn't give us a new mold. Another reason why it sucks. Takanuva actually doesn't give us a new mold either. Huh. Gresh has a unique mold with his armor. The Rakshi, of course, has its own new spine. So I think, given the new molds of this line, because technically you have the armor piece, the Stars armor piece, and the new foot as well, you can get 6 molds out of that. And you could have probably done the Mata. I've said this many times on probably Callan streams or other streams that I've been on, but my pitch for this whole golden Bionicle nonsense, which I also think is, A, feels like a little bit of rehash of the golden masks from 2001, and B, again, it's just another, like, you're going to devolve him so he's no longer a Nuva, but then you just give him another set of armor that, again, even further makes him separate from his team, and now Tahu is just this OP thing, and this golden armor is just a complete MacGuffin that's come out of nowhere. Don't like it. Doesn't make sense, especially when you have Takanuva in this line, who, after 2008, we made a big deal about him being light drained, and he gets his gold back at the end, is right back to being silver and and white for no reason. Kind of sucks. It's like we have a golden Takanuva is the golden Bionicle. If you're going to make someone the golden Bionicle, make it him. But anyway, this is my pitch for how I would have done the stars. I would have had it be the Mata, each with a golden piece. And those golden pieces are then collectible, and instead of Tahu being the golden Bionicle, you put the gold pieces on Kopaka, and then you make Takanuva. It makes more sense in canon, because it's not like a canonical thing. Like, it's not a canon element to be like, oh, they need to find these pieces. It's just, you get gold pieces to create the 7th Toa. And then it also kind of inspires kids to buy 7 sets, because they need to buy Kopaka twice. So every single character, Tahu comes with the Evoki, Pohatu comes with an armor piece, Onuwa comes with an armor piece. You know, you get Takanuva, you get the pieces to convert your Kopaka set into a Takanuva with every stars. And then the golden, quote-unquote, golden Bionicle in the packaging is Takanuva. So you have the 6 sets you have to buy, and then if you want, you convert your Kopaka into Takanuva, and it just makes kids want to buy 7 of these things. And it makes sense without breaking canon or anything like that. Like, you don't have to invent something for the canon. I think building the golden Bionicle is obviously still a marketing thing that you can do with that. And you get Takanuva. That's my pitch, but whatever. Instead, we get a color muted Takanuva in this line. And Tahu becomes the poster child for everything, which, again, visually he is, but really, no. The Mata are a team. Anyway, whatever. Okay, so they've decided they want to do this kind of greatest hits line. Tahu needs to be in his most famous form. Fine. Again, do we really want to see Tahu Mystica as a star? No. However, why, oh why, are 2 of the slots filled with 2 2009 characters? I don't want any of the 2009 characters in this lineup, but 2 of them feels egregious. Honestly, if I was going to pick one Even though it's the lesser of the sets here, I would go with Skrull, I guess. Because at least they're a villain in the setting here. Like, Gresh doesn't need to go under a transformation or like a color palette change. It doesn't really track. I don't know. But if you're going to include one, include Skrull, I guess. But 2 is outrageous. And they're both lime as well. Why? Obviously, deservingly so, the slot should have been with the Borak. There's no famous Bionicle villain aside from the Rakshi as famous as the Borak. But given the limitations of the build here, that's probably why they opted against it. So that's a shame. But yeah, having 2009 characters and a character so mid as Gresh, in my opinion, feels undeserving. I mean, anything cool about Gresh I felt like was deflated by the movie. They really had him look like a kind of a hotshot in the comics, and then he was just an absolute gimp in the movie. Even the way his stature, he almost looked like a Tellurus-sized Glatorian. But yeah. But whatever. You know, there were limitations. They gave us what they could give us. Let's break down the sets, I guess. They are all Agori and Avmatoran type builds. They introduced a new foot. Honestly, I would sacrifice this foot mold for another Kanohi mold. The Star's foot is unique in the fact that it has a connection underneath it. But I don't like the way it looks. Honestly, like, it hurts Takanuva and Tahu by having this foot. The Avmator and the Agori actually look good with Mata feet. The Mata foot is just a handsome damn piece. And the fact that both Tahu and Takanuva should have that foot, and those builds look better with that foot, means while we are getting a new mold, it hurts the look of these sets. And it's not a mold I care about, particularly. Again, I don't know what that budget could have gone into, but maybe give Skrull something else. I don't know. But yeah, not a fan of the foot. The Star's armor I actually do like. It's a nice little neat piece. I almost wish it kind of lived a little bit longer so we could have had it in more things. I quite like it. Kind of nifty. Glad we got it in at least 5 colors. Let's see, wait. Orange, red, white, gold. 4 colors. And then Gresh randomly gets a unique one. Gresh's is okay. I just don't feel like it justifies its own existence. It'd be another thing if some of the other sets used it as well. But yeah, again, another one where I feel like that mold could have been used for something better. Gresh didn't really need that. If he had had the standard Stars piece in lime, who would have cared? Getting some of these other pieces recolored are cool. Getting the Borok Karl, the Garlock Karl shield in gold is great. It's weird because, again, it comes in old gold. It feels like both that and the Nuva shoulder we get in new gold also both came in old gold. It's like they're setting up the bits to convert your old sets into new gold, shy of giving us an actual Evoki, which is annoying. But yeah, they're all pretty standard. The only, I guess, innovation here is Skrull and Rakshi, and I'll go into their builds in just a moment. I do really appreciate them including a Skakti. It feels like one they would maybe skip, which I would hate because I love 2006 so much. But yeah, big props. Creating a mini Skakti spine for this wave. Awesome. Love it. Dig the choice. And also to give us a character that pre-existed. If I remember correctly, Nektan was already a character before this set. My memory's getting a bit far. I'm almost certain he was. So that was kind of a cool way to do that. And also, I know through set design conversations that they were going to make the Rakshi brown as a throwback. But I'm actually, even though I'm a big advocate of the stone color, glad that they didn't. Because getting a new Rakshi variant in another color, considering we know that there are plenty of other Rakshi that exist, was great. One thing I do really dislike about the Rakshi, not really dislike, but find interesting about the Rakshi, is they gave it clawed feet. I felt like Bionicle started falling into a silo of, like, bad guys have orange eyes and have clawed feet and are evil. And it's like, the Rakshi never had clawed feet. If anything, this new foot piece they came up with suits the Rakshi foot more than some of the other ones here. We should have got that piece in yellow. And I kind of don't like how big and floppy the foot looks on some of the other ones, but the Rakshi feet were kind of big for their build. So I actually think that piece in Keith Orange would have worked for the Rakshi. So they should have probably just recolored that foot. I don't necessarily need Keat Orange Shadow Matoran feet. Doesn't. I've never seen a notable mock use them except for Rakshi mock. So I think getting that foot on the Rakshi would have made more sense. But it feels like Lego prioritized, ooh, it's evil and creepy versus accuracy. I also wish they used any other weapon than a Rakshi weapon. Mainly because you're stealing Gorak's staff now. Use any other piece. The fact that it reuses a Rakshi piece is frustrating because that means that those Rakshi types now share a weapon top. But yeah. I think that's probably all I have to talk about before I start ranking them, I guess. One thing I will say is, again, actually jumping back to the 2009 sets, we get 2 of those guys at the cost of getting a Borok, which again, as much as it sucks, I can understand them not doing one just due to the limitations of this build. However, we lose the ability to get a character from Metro Nui. There isn't a 2004 or 2005 character here, which kind of sucks. Again, Visorak might be a bit tricky to do, and also the Metro Nui stuff is in the past, technically. I did mention previously that, in my previous ranking, that if it was up to me, I would have had Makuta use the Vaki as minions. I don't know how you'd achieve it, but again, there's mold budget here if we substitute some of these other more useless pieces. Maybe we could have had a Vaki here. Maybe the Vaki doesn't deserve to be in this lineup, but I'd argue it's more deserving than a Skrull or Gresh. We also don't get anyone from our Matoran group, as in like the Inika or Mari. Like, we could have gotten a Paru instead of the Skrull or Kongu or someone. You know, it just feels like there's distinct eras missed, and it feels unfair to sacrifice a spot for them for two 2009 sets, in my opinion. Anywho, let's get to actually ranking them. In last place, easy, Skrull. And mind you, let me caveat as well, I'm going to rank these mainly due to set design. Because I've already kind of spoken about how I feel about the Stars lineup in general, what I would have done with it. I've also described how some of these don't deserve to be there, so those points are already made. This is purely set design, because there may be some surprising choices here. The Skrull, the worst. First thing, black ankles. Don't know why he has black ankles. He should have had lime ankles. It feels like it throws off the color distribution, especially because we know what the color distribution on the Skrull is. Should have been lime. That's the least of its worries, by the way. But still, one thing. 2, this design. I actually like this design, and it's clear that they designed it for the Rakshi. But it doesn't work with the Skrull at all. I'll touch on it more with the Rakshi, but just lazily copying the Rakshi one, because clearly that one came first. Really lazy. Leaves this exposed ball joint, which is horrible looking. And also means there's this big grey part that, unlike with the Rakshi, which has a primarily grey color scheme, again, it's still a different shade of grey, it really stands out here. And it just looks terrible. Awful. The Skrull weapons, absolutely understand their inclusion. They are very oversized here, as is the Skrull helmet to a degree. And then probably its only positive, in my opinion, is the Kopaka sword. Great to get that recolor, but talking about pure set design, doesn't look like a Skrull sword to any degree. I'd even argue using the often reused Hukimari blade to give that sort of curve to it, recolored in black, would have been better for this set. Like, again, absolutely dig a recolored Kopaka sword, but for this design, I don't think it works very well. And honestly, my second biggest grievance, post the ball joint, is the use of lime. Why? We already have Tuma. Tuma is the lime Skrull design. Give us a blue one. Give us a new purple one. Give us literally any other color beyond red or lime green. Because we've got Stronius in dark red. Mind you, he doesn't have any Skrull style parts, so even if this came in dark red, it would have been better. Don't give us red, because we've already got the red Skrull. Give us another color. If anything, just, I guess, sacrifice the Kopaka sword budget. Give us 3 Skrull swords, and give us a different color. Like, we've got the glow-in-the-dark one from Atticus as well, so it's not like they were beyond changing that up for a Matoran set. So, yeah. He just fucking stinks. He doesn't deserve to be there, and his set sucks. Awful. Probably the best piece in this set, bar the Kopaka sword, is the golden armor segment. Again, ooh, it's a Taka Nuva building piece. How interesting. It is nice getting the Nuva shoulder in new gold. So yeah, easily sits at the bottom. No questions asked. This might be a hot take, but I honestly think Tahu, the most deserving to be in this line, is in 5th place. Honestly. Is that shocking? Maybe it is. Let's go positives. Positives. We get a new How. Love it. I think one of everyone's number one wants would be to get a How with an axle. Like, for the new era. Great. Nice to see a classic mask remolded. It, again, kind of makes you think, like, why didn't LEGO do this? Like, it would have been an easy alley-oop for, like, set design. Like, you use a previous designer to give us an axle on a wave of sets. People would have loved it. And you don't have to spend the budget designing something new. So, cool to get this mask. The recolor of the Akar sword. The Akar sword is actually a very cool piece. And this is way better than that piece. The dual molding is awesome. Very great. Very good. More Mata Red. Lots of Mata Red recolors here. Is that lots of Mata Red recolors? No, there isn't. There's one Mata Red recolor. Getting the matoran torso in Mata Red. Nice. Thanks for the recolor. This one uses newer mold for the feet. Those aren't there. And also this set doesn't come with this stand, by the way. This was the nicest picture I found straight away. He doesn't have recolored limbs either. Regardless, okay. Mata Red and orange. Great. We love to see that color combination. Again, some of the oomph is taken out because we just had Akar, I guess. And that's probably about it in positives for this set. I really hate the Glatorian hand. I've said this before. The wrist is so much longer than it needs to be and makes the hands just look weird. Like, his hands are bigger than his lower arms. I hate the look of it. The Hero Factory hand improved this piece a lot. This silver pauldron being there for no reason, stupid. Looks really out of place. I guess it's so you can... they ran out of reasons to swap out gold parts, so you have a swappable thing. If they'd recolored that in orange or red, which I think those actually exist from, like, hockey sets, maybe it would have been... it would have been better, not maybe. It would have been better, but getting it in silver is really out of place. I mentioned this before. The big flat feet kind of detract from the look, in my opinion. He just looks... his proportions just look kind of gross. Big floppy feet. This set is improved by giving him Mata feet. The head is... if you have this in person, if you don't have this in person, you might not realize this, but the How is smaller and narrower here, which actually makes it technically incompatible with the Metru head. Like, you can put it on a Metru head, but it is warping it slightly. It's so designed around the Avmatoran head, and I've spoken about this before. The Avmatoran head is the worst. Maybe the worst head in all of Bionicle, both generations. It fucking sucks. Which, again, makes Tahu from the side like a hunchback. His head is protruding so much, and he's a hunchback. As well as that, because of that piece, he has this chin sticking out. Which doesn't look good. And, again, back to this, like, LEGO forgetting about individual set design and just thinking, ooh, evil. Evil means red eyes, claws, blah, blah, blah. They gave him a green head. Now, canonically, I guess, the reason all the Toa had green heads in 2008 was because they were flying. And the adaptive armor gave them an eye filter, so I guess bugs and shit didn't get in their eye when they were moving at high speeds. I guess you can half-ass the idea that because he's still wearing the adaptive armor, he has the eye filter. But he's not in a flying mode, so even that falls flat. They gave him green eyes because good guys, green eyes, bad guys, orange eyes. Dumb. Again, this would be improved with an orange head. Now, it would get washed out in the color scheme, but it would still be better. I forgot to mention this positive. He comes with the best piece of the gold armor, of course, a gold How, in pearl gold as well. The new gold. And this is something that I think people don't realize, and I talked about this in the Glatorian ranking when I talked about Akar. The color looks really washed out. I think it's understated the importance of black as a grounding color in Tahu's color scheme. We can see from the prototypes of the stars that came out, oh, not that one. And there are some prototype pieces out there that people own, that originally these sets were going to have molded this piece, I think, was the only one they were going to do, but they were going to dual mold this piece so Tahu could get some of that black in his color scheme. I think that would have improved the look of this set so much, because it kind of has, you know, when you have like bright colored text against a bright colored background and your eyes kind of blur. I feel like this color scheme does that to me. It just needs some black to break it up. And really, if they'd gone with a prototype, again, they probably just ran out of budget. It would have been better. And it's funny, because looking at this prototype, you can see that they actually were going to give Gresh orange eyes. And also, the Skagti was, Nectan was closer to being like Vizok, giving him the Vizok piece as well. But yeah, like, I really think it's hurt by not having that black on it. And just in general, because they made the How small, and the feet and the hands are so massive, Tahu looks like a bit of a pea-brain. I know Bionicle sets kind of ended up having giant bobbleheads from the Nuva onwards, but that's part of the aesthetic, so you can't have everyone have giant heads and then Tahu has a little pea-brain. So the proportions of the set I don't think look very good. He is the most deserving to be a Stars, but it's not a particularly good-looking set in my opinion. So yeah, so it seems maybe heresy to put Tahu so low on this list, but I think that's where he should go. The next two are a little bit of a toss-up, I think, which also may be a bit shocking. So let me just see who's next. Let's get close to Skrull, because there's nothing else to say about Skrull. Tarkanuva. I feel like Tarkanuva is frustrating to me in a lot of ways, because I just touched on it story-wise, but the fact that, you know, they made a big deal about him getting his light back in 2008, for him to just kind of take a form which is basically grey again kind of sucks. And I think it just, and he just feels to me the laziest in the terms of, he's, you know, his secondary color is grey. We didn't get like a recolor of the Avmatoran body, which sucks because it's like all of the Avmatoran were grey. We even got some grey bodies last year. Couldn't recolor it in white. Come on. If they'd made him all white, maybe that would have been something, because this picture makes it look like the Evoke is white, but no, it's silver. And we got silver Evokis back in 2003. Now, mind you, the silver is updated because the silver changes, but I don't count it as a recolor because that's just Lego just remade that color. So we don't even get a new Evoke recolor. So it feels like a leftover mask, leftover Avmatoran parts. Yeah, it just feels, there's something about him that feels lazy. And again, it messes with my head. The canonical reason is obviously when Makuta took over, a Tour of Light is supposed to super stand out, so he kind of took like a muted color scheme to remain more incognito, but it's kind of a stretch. You know, throwing those Nuva armor on his arms, it's simple enough. I think it works. It's not the greatest look in the world, but he just looks fine. I believe the limbs are a recolor actually. And those pieces are cool to get in white. And I think this is probably the best in this style where you would get a Nuva type build. His dual staves as well make no sense story-wise. He had that OP weapon. Like, his weapon just amplified elemental powers. His power lance. And then to get 2 nameless light staves. Why? Like, I could almost buy it if you only gave us 1. And just it was supposed to be like his original staff. But he has 2. Cool, I guess, more pieces. But again, if you want to put those 2 pieces to do something else, please do. It's another set that would look better with Martyr feet. Yeah, honestly, I would get rid of the extra staff and just recolor that body piece in white and just make him all white or something. He has the same issues with Tahu with the feet and the stupid hunchback head. I don't mind the green eyes on him because it's closer to yellow. And it's probably at this stage of the game, if you wanted to give a character yellow eyes, the neon green yellow eyes would be the way to do it. So yeah, he ends up looking fine, but he just feels lazy. Even the Nuva shoulder recolors are not actually recolors to my recollection. I believe they came in the hockey sets as well. But it's nice getting them in a Bionicle set. Like, this picture, again, is really deceiving because it makes it look like he has a white Evoke. Give this set a white Evoke, and I can basically overlook every other issue. But the fact that he has a silver Evoke is, feels lazy. He just feels lazy. And again, my pitch, make all the gold pieces, stick it on this set, which should be Kabaka, and you create Tarkanuva. Hello, it's right there. But anyway, yeah, he's serviceable. Like, he's perfectly okay. I want to look back at the prototype image. Was there anything different about him there? No, he looks like he came fully formed. I think maybe they gave him silver shoulders to match his face, but I can't quite tell. Okay, that's Takenuva. There's nothing else to really say about him. And then I'm going to speak on Nektan. Nektan, I think gives us some more recolors. I'm pretty sure his arms, both of his limbs are recolors, I believe. I don't remember. Feet aren't. Grey body, ugh, feels lazy again. But I'll say this, I think because he's trying to be like a Vizok stand-in, they were probably trying to approximate the silver and dark blue color scheme that Vizok had. I guess I'm shooting them some bail there. I don't know if they deserve that credit, but... So, I don't know. And because he has a brand new and really elaborate mold, it doesn't feel as lazy as Takenuva. And again, I really appreciate them doing the Skakti mold. Because not only is it something that I feel like you can't achieve it at this scale, but they did something different. Like, what the great thing about the Skakti was each spine was very varied, and we get a completely different one here with multiple different kind of interweaving spines. Really cool. Really great idea. And a really unique looking face. It almost feels like it fits closer to like Zaktan's face. The only thing I would say about it is I'm not the biggest fan of them molding the teeth in blue. I would rather it just be in wide open mouth. Mainly because I think then you could just mock teeth behind it. Like they, unfortunately, without doing a molded head, they were never going to get the white in there. But having the teeth kind of there, I think it might have looked better just without them. So it's just like his mouth is just wide open. Maybe. I don't know. I like the weapon. The Antros blade and the Prydak dagger kind of work together and make a really effective scythe type thing. And what a perfect piece choice, you know. That tiny... The Shadow Matoran foot is basically a mini Paraka foot. It was, like, made for this set. But yeah, no. Really appreciate getting a Skakti in this scale. I actually think he looks better in the final than he does as the prototype. In the prototype, they gave him... no, it's just a different weapon. For some reason, I thought he had shorter limbs. Yeah, he's okay. And then let's talk about Gresh. That's not Gresh. This is Gresh. Oh, look, his hand is backwards. Gresh. Now, I just railed about how Gresh should not... Who's, like, probably the least deserving of being here. However, as a set in a vacuum, I kind of really like Gresh. And that feels heresy to say, but this color scheme of... The color layering on this thing is fantastic. Just a full base layer of dark green with the lime just sitting on top. Looks really clean. And look, I'd argue it looks cleaner than the original Gresh. Yeah. The wide feet kind of match here, I feel like. Again, because it's using a Glatorian-sized helmet, it's a little bit bigger than, say, like, Tahu's. And I don't know, I feel like it works better here. I think maybe because Tahu and Takenuva already, their original sets were somewhat in this scale already, so for their feet to be really drastically, like, flat and weird, really kind of diverts from what they're supposed to represent, but I feel like the feet work best on this set. The custom armor, while I feel like is completely unnecessary, is nice and does match the helmet, which creates like a design cohesiveness here. Gresh's weapons are fantastic pieces. They're like jungle Likan swords. And honestly, this set may have suited them better with the kind of the blended color that the original set had, but getting them recolored in silver is really nice. And actually, no, you know what? Keeping them just as the weapons lets the colors really sit separately here and create really nice color layering. And even with the face, yeah, like, maybe the original Gresh helmet would have sort of suited this thing, but actually keeping it really solid. It's like solid blocks of lime on top of a really consistent, clean, monochromatic base layer looks really nice. So yeah, Gresh kind of fucks in a sense here. He's really one of the best looking star sets, and it's really, again, it kind of sucks because he doesn't deserve to be here, but it looks really nice, and he kind of gives us a full set of Avmatoran recolors, because no, he doesn't. Tarduk had the arms, but whatever. He looks really clean. The only thing I honestly, to improve this set, really would be giving him his prototype orange head. A, Gresh had orange eyes originally, and B, because his head is lime and he has the trans neon, greeny eyes. His head ends up being kind of washed out. So give him the orange head, and then this set looks better. But yeah, this one is really clean. Yeah. Do I start ranking them? I don't know. Oh yeah, I haven't really ranked the last few. You know what? Let's keep it interesting. Let me rank the one. Let me talk about the one I haven't. I kind of already spoke about the Rakshi. Really, the Rakshi really does deserve to be here. And similar to the Skakti, it's kind of they went the extra mile in creating this mold. This merged head and spine piece. It kind of sucks that we don't get a Krana, but realistically, I don't think that was going to happen. So I've never really kind of put the set down for that. This is a very nice Matoran build innovation, and they clearly designed it here first and then reused it for the scroll, because the fact that the spine perfectly sits on top of it it feels purpose built for this. The grey, so yeah, again, it's quite a stark contrast here, but I feel like it's more excusable here. There's less of a contrast with the greys than it is with black and the grey. Again, my grievance with the feet, I think it would have looked better with the floppy feet, even though I don't like the floppy feet. Mainly because it looks closer to how the Rakshi feet actually are. The Rakshi never had clawed feet. Again, I already kind of complained about how the fact that he uses Gorak's weapon. Literally, give him Pridak daggers. Any other small blade. Just reusing another Rakshi blade kind of is annoying, because it means that we have two duplicate Rakshi weapons. Some people don't like the head. I feel like I've heard complaints about that. A lot of people cut it. I wonder if they had created a more solid, almost CCBS-style socket under the spine so it clicked in completely, and then kept the head as just a standard Rakshi head. Would that have been better? I don't know. But yeah, this one is really cool. I like it's one of the best Matoran build type sets, just because of the sort of innovation there. You technically get an extra limb because of that. And again, real nice that they did go with another color, so we get a Rakshi variant. And I think that's all I have to say. And also another thing, I kind of like that they also used a Rakshi that we saw. Like this Rakshi was in 2004. We see it in one of the comics stalking Tahuti. So I always just found that very interesting as well. Okay, let's actually just rank these guys. So these are my bottom two. Honestly, I'm thinking I'm going to put the Rakshi number 1. And Gresh number 2. And mind you, this is a vacuum. Gresh does not deserve to be here. I think the Rakshi gets it for the innovation. I think it kind of earns that. To be honest, in some aspects, Gresh is cleaner. But I think the Rakshi deserves it more, because it's doing something else. Gresh is really generic. Aside from the armor overlay, he's as simple an Matoran build as it can be. Honestly, I think I'll put Takanuva here in 4. Again, the Matoran head just sucks so bad. And so he ends up being a hunchback with big floppy feet. Doesn't look like Takanuva in that sense. And again, the part reusages on him kind of irk me in a big way. Again, you're going to recolor Gresh's helmet and give him a new mold for his own personal armor, but Takanuva doesn't get either. Gresh has 2 recolors. Gresh gets recolored helmet and recolored weapons, and Takanuva gets nothing. He gets recolored limbs, I guess. But whatever, I don't care. The fact we couldn't get a Takanuva recolor. I don't know what. Even, I don't know, it would be a retcon, but even giving us the evoking gunmetal. If Tahu is truly destined to have the gold and Takanuva's not allowed to have it, give us a gunmetal evoki. Something. So he feels really lazy. And while Nektan overall is really lazy, because he's, again, a really, really generic Matoran, down to the grey. It's like the grey sits in the middle here. Ah, that's a lie. But the grey makes sense on the Rakshi, of course. I kind of give them props for the spine. They didn't just do like a lazy one spine thing. They actually took the idea of a Skakti, did something unique with it, and adapted it to an Matoran scale. I think that deserves a lot of credit. His weapons come together really nice. And yeah, I think that's my ranking. I think I'm happy with that. The stars, what a end to Generation 1. Good lordy. Good lordy. And I'll say it again. Lego, just hire me, man. I got such good ideas. I'm telling you. They should have been 6 Mada. Even if you limited the amount of recolors so we could get 6 new Konohi. Even if they're all hunchback ugly things, I would have preferred a uniform team. Tahu being Armada and the rest of them being Nuva sucks ass. Hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. And make those golden pieces armor so you can put them on a Kopaka base model and make a Taka Nuva. Do it. And I guess, actually, let's talk about the golden Bionicle himself. This is how it all looks like on Tahu. Whatever. Again, it would be nice to have the gold. I think the gold is such a bright color, like the orange, that, again, also looks kind of washed out. If this had black on it, I feel like it would have balanced everything a little bit more. Of course, it's better than having the silver pauldron. It's fine. I think I've spoken to... I think I'm stealing this opinion from Lanu, but I'm pretty sure he said before that gold was not Tahu's color, silver was Tahu's color, gold is like a Likan and Jala color. And yeah, I would agree with that. I know all the Tormata ended up getting gold masks, but I feel like silver feels like Tahu's thing more so than gold. And yeah, now he, I guess, walks around looking like this instead of, and while the rest of the guys are beefed up as a Nuva. Weird. But yeah, I'm trying to think. So if this was truly a base level Taka Nuva, sorry, a Kopaka with gold pieces laid over to be Taka Nuva, how would this work? So then you would get a Nuva. So we need 6 pieces of gold armor to make my concept be the one. So we get a gold Evoki. We would then get a gold chest piece. We would get 2 gold Nuva shoulders. Which kind of leaves 2 open, I guess. I think you would probably get some sort of gold. Maybe the last 2 pieces would be 2 pieces to have a gold staff. I know Takanuva never had a gold staff, but I'm just trying to think, because he doesn't need a shield, he doesn't need a pauldron. And we have 2 bonus gold pieces. I think you would get maybe a golden axle, and then a golden, even if it ends up just being a recolor of the Huki piece to be his staff. The last 2 things can go for his weapon, so Takanuva has his own weapon. So yeah, you'd get 2 armor pieces, 1 chest piece, gold Evoki, an axle, and a blade. Now, whichever set got the golden axle, I guess, would feel like maybe you're getting shortchanged a bit. It would be the lamest thing. But actually, a gold Technic axle has novelty all to itself. So, again, that's sort of how that concept would play out. But anyway, let me stop yapping. That's my ranking of the stars. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening. Go watch Takeout. Takeout? It's not called Takeout. It's called Takeover. I'm going to just keep promoting that. Watch that. Watch Takeover. Let me know what you want me to rank next. Let me know if you want me to do some of those other videos that I've always talked about, like talking about 2009 or, you know, Reign of Shadows or whatever. Let me know. Thanks for listening. Bye.